Hello. Glorious day again. We are blessed, although they say rain later. Look at this. It's just beautiful. Loving it. Okay, I want to talk about something slightly different really in this video. All my videos are slightly different, which is why I call it the ramblings. So some you like, some you don't like, whatever. So have you ever heard of resomation? R-E-S-O, resomation, M-A-T-I-O-N, resomation. Beautiful sky. Okay, baby. No, I'm a bit odd. I think we can agree on that. I had a deputy headmaster that I liked at school, and we were talking. For some reason, we got onto the subject of death and dying, and you know, funerals and what happens to the body, and you know, it goes on and on really. And it was quite, I thought, quite interesting. Hey Bode, please don't lick. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chat, and when you talk about something that's unusual, different, you know, a semi sort of, oh, what's the word? You know, just a difficult topic, or you know, something that's out of the norm, something unusual. I enjoy that sort of thing. Anyway, I had in my head, prior to this, I was thinking about, I know it's weird, but I was thinking about death and funerals and things like that. And obviously at one stage, when people buried, because we're rubbish, we have to get rid of the human body, don't we? We can't just prop ourselves up in the living room. So there's a lot of human bodies that turn to rubbish and need to be discarded of. If we're honest, you know, you can say it nicer than that, of course you can, but you know, ultimately we have to be, you know, put somewhere, done away with, whatever. So I was thinking about that as a kid really, and I thought, I know that years and years there was, they used to put people in a pit, you know, like a mass grave, a big grave, and eventually it became a single grave, and then it became a single grave with a marker, which was a cross or a headstone or something, and then the funeral took on a sort of a monetary value really, you know, with cars and people, you know, dressed in mourning suits, and you know, it cost thousands of pounds. And there was a wake, or there is a wake involved, and that can be expensive really, with a meal or food or whatever. And you know, the flowers, if you've got flowers, and the cost of the coffin is astronomical, especially when you think what's going to happen to it. And anyway, whatever, so that's what happened. Then in 1885 was the first ever cremation in the UK. 1885. Now, can you see through there? It looks very, very black. See if the camera focuses. I just think it's lovely, especially with this green in front. Anyway, so yeah, in 1885 there was a woman who decided to be cremated. She thought she'd be the first one, and it all worked for her, and she was one of 3 that year, so it wasn't really very popular. because, you know, we're creatures of habit and we get used to things, don't we? And I suppose everybody would have been, well, of course they would have been buried. And suddenly there's this newfangled thing called cremation, and people would have said, much the same as they say now, what if I wake up? Well, they still had that fear, that worry, when they were buried. And in the Victorian age, they had a bell, a tiny little bell on the gravestone itself. Come on, Bode, off that, please. And that went down in the ground into the coffin and tied around the person's finger, so they could wobble their finger, apparently. Of course they couldn't, because what happened was the amount of earth, when you're 6 feet down, the amount of earth that goes through you, there's no way of pulling a little tiny piece of string. Number one, it would either snap or it just wouldn't work. You know, you would need a crane to pull it, you know. So hello, he's running around, he's loving it. We're both loving life at the moment. But we're going to go this way for a change. I found this path the other day and never came down here, so it's a first. So, a bit morbid this maybe, but whatever, it is whatever. It is fact as well, you know. The only thing I know for certain about you is that you will die. I don't know anything else. I don't know whether you're going to be rich or poor, or get pregnant, or move 10 times, or live in 5 different countries. I know nothing apart from you will die. So will I, so will everybody. So it's not really morbid, it's just fact, isn't it? So anyway, this woman decided it was invented slightly earlier than that, and they tested it and all the rest of it, but in 1885 there was 3 that year. In 1886 there was another 2 or 3, and that's kind of how it went. Never really caught on as such, and it slowly gained in popularity, a bit more and a bit more, and not really until the 60s, 1960s, when it became a much cheaper option. You can get, you can have your traditional funeral, if you want to call it that. What are they? Are they called foxgloves? If not, they should be, but whatever, they're just beautiful. I love them. Yeah, so it became more and more popular, so that even now you can have your funeral, which is the box and coffin, and you know, all the rest of it, and that can cost, well, it can cost many thousands of pounds, or you can have a cremation that perhaps cost 800, 900 quid, whatever it is. And really, it's not a mark of respect when you say, oh, my loved one's died, but you know, at least their funeral cost £7,000. They didn't benefit from that. Not one iota. They didn't benefit. We know who does. And it's, you know, the taxman, the government, the funeral directors, and it goes on and on. But that loved one, if they were here, they'd say, spend that money on yourself. Take yourself away on holiday. Buy yourself something nice. That's what they'd say. So cremations become more and more popular, certainly in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And now what happens is, when people die, they reckon that the percentage is 65% choose to have a cremation. And now a cremation and a burial are normal in my head, normal in most people's heads. So you've got a choice whether to be cremated or buried. So all that fear and stuff over this newfangled thing has long gone, this cremation. But I've always wondered, when I was a kid, I thought we should be kind of atomised in some way, you know, kind of. I used to think It's ridiculous, but I was a kid. We could be sent up in a rocket. Bode! Stop it! Licking. Sent up in a rocket and just vaporised in some way. Now, that's dirty. Look at you licking your lips. You've got enough food at home. You don't need to lick piss. Come on, let's go. But I used to think as a kid, why don't they develop something like that, or a new way, or something, you know? And I remember I had a conversation with my mum as well, and I said about funerals and death and everything, you know. There's only 2 options, and she said technically there's 4, although I don't know how you go about it. And she said obviously there's burial and cremation, and she said I want to be cremated, make sure I'm bloody dead. That's what my mum always said. I want to be cremated, make sure I'm bloody dead. And then she said you can leave your body to medical science, she said, but that ain't very nice, is it? You know, when there's some student running around town with your willy in his hands. She never said that, I did. But you know, you don't know what's going to happen to you. So, and the other way is to be buried at sea if you were, I don't know, a sailor or something or other, you know, whatever. It's very undulating here. We've been up and down on this path. Bloody knackering me out. It's beautiful though, what a lovely day. So, hello, you come back to see me? Hello, come here. Hello darling, you alright? Yeah. Give him a good brush yesterday. Good brush, and he smells of baby powder. That's what I use on him. I don't use baby powder, I use dog cologne, but it's all natural stuff, so it's all good. Anyway, strange little kid I was, I suppose, thinking about things like this, and then our deputy head pushed it on a bit more, you know, and I said, why don't we have something else, you know, other than just burial and cremation? He said, well, there isn't anything else, you know. He said it's probably a very difficult thing getting rid of the human body. He said, so that's it. So in my little mind, and probably now in my big mind, I think I'm not in favour of either of them. They're being buried. I got a fear of anything over my face, as you know, masks, and you know, I panic over that. So that don't sound very good to me. And perhaps being burnt alive don't sound very good to me. I'm already too bloody hot. Anyway, so this resumation, this is a new way of, we don't want to call it getting rid of the human body, do we? What do we want to call it? Taking care of our dearly departed. Resumation. So what resumation is, this will sound awful, but let me just say it, boil in the bag, okay? Now I've said it. So what it is, it's a natural, more natural way, and it's better on the environment and better on actually the human body. Although of course you are a body, so you may not care, but it uses less power and less this and less that, you know. So what it is, you go into a chamber, you don't have to have a coffin, you can have a woolen shroud, you know, like a bit of a duvet across you, and they can just push you in, and then what happens, it's 95% water and 5% chemicals. Is that boy licking? I'm watching you just in case. And they turn the heat up, and they cook you, you know, 160 degrees it is, and they cook you for a couple of hours, and what happens is everything falls away. Let's not get into it too deep, but everything falls away, including tiny fragments of bone and stuff like that. So you're left with bigger bones to deal with, a little bit like a cremation really, because cremation the temperature goes up enough but it doesn't go up, well there's no way really of getting rid of the skull and bigger thicker bones and what have you, so they have to deal with them, and then you get what they call the ashes. So this resumation is exactly the same. You're left with, you know, most of the skeleton. I believe there's a word, I may be making it wrong. Is it maceration? Is it? I don't know. Maceration? I've got a feeling it might be. Where the hell am I? What's this bloody thing in? Can you see it? It's like a height barrier. Anyway, I believe it's maceration. So what would happen in this resumation is obviously you'd be cooked, and it leaves a bit of a watery soup at the bottom, and then your bones are, if it is macerated or whatever, it's done something to, and you're given ashes, and you can take care of them in whichever way you please. Hope this subject isn't too bloody revolting for people, but you know, you would have switched off by now, wouldn't you, if you're not interested. So I'll just turn this off one sec. He just met a little friend. So I don't know really where I'm going, but I seem to be following some kind of a track. Anyway, we just keep on going, although we are in the sun. I wonder whether to, I don't know. So they deal with the bones exactly the same as a cremation, and you can bury them or do whatever that you want to do. You know, some people may have the ashes at home or in a flower bed or in a certain spot that the person loved or whatever, you know. Come on. Hello. You okay there? Hello, my love. Bode, I think I'm going to go this way because I'm going to get too hot out here. Let's go this way. Anyway, so let's cut this short, shall we? So this resumation, boil in the bag, whatever you want to call it. We'll have to come up with a word, won't we, really, when it gets more and more popular. But they've actually just started it in the UK now. They do it in some other countries. And I believe the co-op funeral people are the first in the country. Come here, Bode. But there's only a few of these machines. They're kind of ovens, aren't they, really? But there's only a few of these, whatever you want to call them, at the moment. But they reckon they're going to get more and more and more. And straight away people think, oh no, I wouldn't want to be a boil in the bag. Well, you know, I just said, didn't I, you can be buried and let insects, you know, do their stuff, and then eventually the ground will squash you. What the hell is that? Oh, I thought it was a camera on stilts, but it's not. It's just a tree, three-legged tree. So yeah, so that's the burial. May not sound very nice when you think of things eating away at you, but you know, at the end of the day you are not there. It's just your anyway. Or maybe you don't like the idea of being in an oven, being burnt to a crisp. Maybe that fills you with dread. So is being heated up any more worse than those two, or any better in your mind than those two? I don't know. Everybody's got to make up their own mind, I suppose. But I just think it's about time that we came up with something else rather than the two. Oh, come here, Bode. How many dogs? No, I'm going to put them on a lead. Back in a sec. Anyway, so one day, very soon, it will become the norm to have a choice of 3 rather than 2. And I would like them to develop various things, so we've got a choice of half a dozen personally. But then I suppose, does it matter? Does it really matter? It's kind of a nice thought while you're alive that you can say, oh, I want to choose this or choose that. But then, you know, when we're no longer here, it doesn't matter. And the body is just the vessel, isn't it? It's just, you know, the body goes wrong. Body's a bit crap, I think, really. What's important is you, isn't it? It's the inner you. It's the beautiful you. It's your soul, your loving ways, your kindness, your niceness. It's how you live your life, and what is your message to the world, and what you leave when you vacate this land and this body that roams on it, you know. So that's the important things. Much more important than what happens to a hopefully old, you know, hopefully we'll all die old, but probably old and ill and knackered and kind of ready. You know, it's the inner stuff, I think, that's so important, really. I mean, who are you really? You're not, you know, 2 nostrils and, you know, 6 foot tall and you know, 20 stone or whatever. You're not that, not really, you know. You're a beautiful cosmic soul, and we're stardust ultimately, aren't we? You know, we came from the ether, from Bode, come on, Bode, come on. We came from the planets. You know, we all collided and we all formed in such a way that, you know, we got Earth and Moon and Venus and this star and that star, and so we're all kind of connected to all the other planets and all the space dust and debris and the comets and the different things and everything else. So yeah, we're kind of space dust, stardust, whatever we are. It's what we're made of. Our DNA is, you know, that's what I think. Oh no, probably it's fact, who knows. Anyway, so maybe we just go back to being, that's a whole another subject, but maybe we go back to being stardust, you know, and perhaps, again, it doesn't matter what happens to your body or your ashes or whatever, perhaps your soul and you know, your true being, your true self. I think this is not our true self, it's not our full self, but it's just what we have inherited for 60, 70, 80 years, just what we bimble around in, you know. But our true self, our deep, beautiful, soulful self, I think probably goes on and on and on, and who knows. Anyway, just me emptying my head and seeing where my thoughts lead. Who knows? I don't, but I like to think. So at least now we've got a third way. So, and we are going to die, so we do need not necessarily to think about it, but you know, it's nice to have another option, I think. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Who the hell cares? But if you can get outside because it's glorious. Take care. And be well.